Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. So I recently celebrated 5 years in business, and one of the lessons that I have learned is you cannot just rely on digital marketing to grow your business. So I wanted to talk today. I was recently at a workshop and got a whole slew of information, and it very much tracks with how my business has largely grown based on word of mouth referrals, based on networking and building relationships with people. So, it's funny because late last year, I got the opportunity to do like a 2-minute commercial, which we do at the PBA, Pasadena Business Association. We do that, you put your card in, you get a raffle, and you can either have a website highlight or a 2-minute commercial standing up in front of people, like talking about your business. So I did that. And this must have been, I want to say in like November or December. And shortly after that, a now client of mine came up to me and was like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about social media." And we set up a call, we talked, and now they're a client of mine. I will say it took a lot of consistency. Networking is all about relationship building. Like that's the whole thing. Like you're not just going to sell yourself. You're going there to build relationships. Like you never know who's going to need you, who's going to refer you to your next client. Like there is a lot to be said about building those in-person relationships. And so many people just want so much out of social media. They want social media to be their entire marketing department. And every time I bring on a new client, I say, "Hey, what else are you doing to market your business?" You cannot rely solely on social media to grow your business. You have to be making relationships. And most of my clients are in-person service providers, mostly women-owned, not all. I don't discriminate. But, I do have a certain passion for seeing women be successful in business, and therefore I tend to lean towards women-owned businesses. But what if we reframed social media and said, "Hey, what if our next big opportunity wasn't in our inbox, it wasn't in our Instagram feed, it wasn't even on Facebook, but maybe it's someone that you meet at a networking event." We know that digital fatigue, especially in our post-COVID world, is so real. I mean, for essentially two and a half years, people were largely just across from Zoom. And I love, yes, there is a time and a place for virtual meetings. When I want to bring my team in, one of my content creators, virtual meetings all the way. But I love the opportunities to sit down with clients, to get to know them, to see their office, to see their brand. It adds a whole other layer of trust in our relationship when I can kind of I kind of become one of the team, I always say, I am a part of your business. So you're not just outsourcing to me, we're building a relationship. And I am so grateful because so many of my clients that I've worked with, because I build these relationships with my clients, they're not just clients, they also refer other people to me. It's amazing. So make the effort if you can, not everyone can, I know that, to have those face-to-face meetings because they build those stronger, more meaningful relationships. That's just a reality. And there's also a statistic out there that says that 92% of consumers trust referrals from people that they know, because we know that people work with those they know, like, and trust, right? So make the effort. Being active offline also makes you a little bit more memorable. People often associate faces with services. Marketing, I don't know how much I agree with this little soundbite in my ChatGPT notes, but whatever. We're going to roll with it. And I want to see what you guys think. Marketing doesn't just stop at your phone screen. Your handshake is still a part of your brand. You are your brand. Most likely, you are your brand, right? So go make the effort to be in person because you're going to build that reputation of being associated with whatever service. Even if you're an online business provider, your network starts closest to you. Unless you're going to drop a schmidt ton of money on ads, you've got to start somewhere. And for me, 2021 was when I joined the Pasadena Business Association. I'd been in business for just about a year, and I just started going to networking events, and it was really, really valuable to me. And now, I know so many amazing business owners in my community. I know what's happening in my community. I've made friends. It has become a huge part of who I am and how I give back as a business owner. I've hosted workshops. I volunteer my time. I help out at events. That's just I don't know. Giving back has always kind of been ingrained in my blood. But yeah. So types of in-person networking that work, if you're looking, I would say start with your local chamber of commerce or any sort of small business meetups that you can find. I will say recently we had the Leading Lady quarterly networking event, which is free. That's one of my all-time favorite events to go to. It's at the Collective in Annapolis, Maryland. If you're local, anywhere in the greater Annapolis DMV area, come on by. I think the next one's in June or July. Find industry conferences or panels. You never know. Even if it's, I have so many contacts in my network who are fellow marketers, but I do social media and I do email marketing. I don't do SEO. I don't do websites. I don't do branding. I don't do graphic design. There's Schmidt that I do not do. But going to these industry conferences or panels or workshops about marketing, you find people who do that stuff that you don't do, right? You're going to find people within your network for referrals. Oh, hey, I don't know. I just love, I miss conferences. And I will say, I am super excited. I am going to a retreat that Lauren Najar is hosting in Chicago next month. And I am super, super excited because I just feel like when you go to industry conferences or panels or things like that, you just get such a burst of creative energy, right? So much creative energy. So highly recommend that. And because also if I know someone who needs, SEO, I'm going to refer them to my friend Chrissy. If she knows someone who needs social, she's going to send them my way. It might not be the right client for me, but hey, I know someone else who does social, and maybe I'm going to send them their way. You have this network, so even if the client's not right for you, you want to have a place to refer them to because then you become a resource. You want to see them succeed. You want to help them. And it's all about helping each other. It's not about selling ourselves. Not everything is about sales. Other opportunities, I love co-working days, masterminds. I loved the masterclass that I was a part of with Alice Ann Loftus last year, and that's kind of why I became an ambassador this year. But it was just such a wealth of knowledge. The people in the Leading Lady community are just, they're so smart. They're so encouraging. Find a community that just lifts you up, fills your cup, and is a resource. We want resources as business owners. Masterminds are just that. And the first kind of course that I took was the Launch Your Online Agency with Alma Bradford. And now I've evolved into her membership. I've taken a few different courses with her, and she's amazing. She's so good for marketers. And I've always learned so much from her and the people in her community and her orb. So find places that just lift you up, that fill your cup. Or if you can't find it, create it. Create your own event. Host your own workshop. My friend and I, a year and a half ago, there was there's plenty of networking events up here, but we wanted to do something a little different. We wanted something fun. So we hosted a sip and shop at her boutique, and it was so fun. The women that came out were great. And again, it's just an opportunity to build those relationships. I'm going to give you a call to action to make it a goal in Q2 to attend one local event close to you, because you never know who's going to be in the room, who's going to become your next referral source, who's going to need your services. So find one local event. And if you're a local listener and you need a buddy, because sometimes us introverts need buddies, shoot me a message. I'll go with you. Finally, speaking of introverts, I'm going to give you a little bit of practical advice. And this is something that I kind of do, but I go in with a goal. And I always find the person that I know in the room. Maybe it's one person, maybe it's two people, I don't know. But I tend to, first find someone that I know. And then I go with a goal just to meet one or two new people that I can follow up with. And I am self-admittedly really terrible about the follow-up. And I apologize to anyone who's listening to this, who has met me at a networking event and I haven't followed up with you. I'm sorry. So, but there are ways to follow up. Recently at this workshop that I was at for PBA, the woman who was leading it, who's someone that I know, who I very much respect, she talked a lot about the follow-up. And her big tip that I'm going to pass on to you guys is to templatize your follow-ups. Have an email template and then just copy and paste, maybe personalize it a little bit based on what you talked about. The strength is sometimes in the follow-up, not the first impression. So we want to reframe networking as relationship building, not selling. We're not selling. We're not selling ourselves. We're making relationships. If crowds are really overwhelming to you, choose the smaller, more focused gatherings. I don't love going to the multi-chamber events, but I do. Once in a while, they're really, really helpful. There's always a lot of great people there. And if you're like me, this is my last little introverted entrepreneur tip, bring a wing person, have a buddy. Know someone who's going that you can kind of okay, we're going to go in this together and then we're going to do this thing together. That way we have friends. And if I don't know anyone, I might stick to your side and you can introduce me and then go do your own thing. That's probably terrible advice. Don't listen to that. Finally, once we kind of build these offline relationships, how do we bring them back online to stay in touch with them, to stay engaged with them? I love sharing events that I go to. I'm sometimes not great at it, but sometimes I'm better at it than others. Sometimes I'm just really bad at taking pictures or video. It's not always front of mind. But this can be a part of your social media content strategy. This is a great way. I have a client who does this a lot on LinkedIn, and her account has grown, 2,000% since I've started working with her. Literally, I started working with her. She had 100 followers, and 4 years later, we're at almost 1,000, 2,000. And she is a small 30-person business in a very, very niche industry. And part of our content strategy is, hey, when you go to events, take pictures. We want to tag the people that you talk to. That way you kind of stay front of mind with them. So those become great social media posts. You can always, if you're going to workshops or conferences, share the lessons learned on LinkedIn or even Instagram. Tag the person who was speaking, who made an impact on you. Follow new connections. The advice that I got at this recent workshop that I was at was, don't try to Facebook friend me. And I 100% agree with that. Maybe I'm more apt to accept a LinkedIn request because I don't have a LinkedIn business page right now. And I'll definitely refollow on Instagram. So follow me on Instagram or connect with me on LinkedIn if you meet me at a networking event. That's always the best way to stay in touch. Also, when you collect business cards, ask hey, do you mind if I add you to my email list? Or in the follow-up, you add an opportunity for them to join your email list. Hey, I have a newsletter that comes out every 2 weeks. Or, hey, here's my lead magnet. I hope it's helpful to you. Feel free to download it here. So those are ways to kind of integrate those offline and the online steps that you're making. If you want more tips about how to integrate these, feel free to schedule a strategy session with me. Finally, we're going to wrap this up. You cannot build a business only online. And I say that because it is rented space. If you're only marketing yourself on social media, what happens if Meta shuts down tomorrow? What happens to your audience? Where else can they find you? We know that relationships drive referrals and growth. How are you building relationships with other people, even online? How are you connecting? Go back and listen to the episode with Lauren Najar. She talks a lot about engagement and building those relationships. I will link to that in the show notes. Finally, networking isn't about just being an extrovert. It's not. It's about being present. It's about building relationships. It's about being a resource, finding the next person who's going to be a resource to you. You never, ever know. So if you love this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, all the things. I encourage you to go find an RSVP to one local business event. I'm going to do a little shout out to the Taste of Pasadena, hosted by the Pasadena Business Association, coming up in the middle of May 15th. There are limited tickets. It's going to be a great time. We have some amazing restaurants who are going to be a part of the event. So that would be my networking event that I would suggest in May. Join the Leading Ladies Facebook group. It is not just a local group. It is nationwide. However, we do have local events local to Annapolis. So join that group. That's amazing. There are amazing, amazing women in that group. I will link to it in the show notes also. Or host your own event. Nice weather. Do something outside. I would love to hear your favorite networking stories, what type of networking events you love, what ones you hate. Feel free to DM me on social media or send me an email. Finally, if you're interested in more support with your marketing, we are accepting some limited done-for-you and consulting clients starting in May. So schedule a discovery call if you'd like to chat to learn how we can help you with your marketing. And until next time, go forth, create amazing content that stops the scroll and builds relationships. Bye for now.